Hi there honey bunnies, blessed summer solstice if you're watching this at the time of upload. This is a long awaited video that I have threatened to create and upload several times in the past while I've been doing the channel, and I haven't done it. It's one of those that I keep saying, oh, I need to make a video about that, and then I never do. You know what I'm like, my little carousel of intentions when it comes to this channel. I thought today would be a good day to do it. I know it's one that a lot of people have been anticipating. I've been asked for it numerous times, and so today, without further ado, I'm going to give you some thoughts and reflections on scrying. It's by no means going to be a definitive video on scrying with everything that I think and feel about it and all of my experiences and stuff, but it's going to be enough information, I'm hoping, to help anybody who might be a bit stuck with it or might just want more information. If I seem a little bit lackluster in this video, it's because I did not get much sleep last night, so if my voice is husky or I just seem a little bit like, you know, a little bit not as high vibe as normal, then don't worry, I'm absolutely fine. I'm just a bit sleepy. I'm sure that there are not that many people that frequent my channel who actually need to know what scrying is, but it's basically where you look into something and you see images and pictures and you make out certain shapes, and then you determine from those shapes and symbols and things that you've seen what the interpretation of those things is and what it means and how it applies. Scrying has been done for centuries. I've actually got a book in the other room, which I won't go and get right now, that actually has, it's basically like an encyclopedia of divination, and it basically has all of the ways that people have divined and told the future and looked for omens and stuff through time and through different civilizations, and it's fascinating. You've got people using pigs' guts in there and all sorts of stuff. It's really an interesting read, and there's one way that a lot of us actually used to scry as children. There's probably not many people who didn't used to do this or still do, and that is scrying using the clouds. I can't remember the official name for that now off the top of my head. It is in the Book of Divination, but I won't get up. I hope you guys don't mind. But yeah, scrying with the clouds is something that we would do when we were lying back in a field or something like that, and just looking up at the clouds and kind of picking out shapes and showing them to our friends and stuff. I still do that now. I say, oh, I can see a witch in the clouds. Look, there's the nose and there's the broom and everything. Trust me to see a stereotypical witch. There are so many awesome reasons to try scrying and make it into a part of your practice. It can be used for inspiration, if you are creatively blocked, if you just want to know what to do about a situation, or you're wondering what to bring into your witchy practice. Scrying can be really good for that. It can be really good for relaxation. It's a good meditative technique. It's good to help you to build on your creative visualization skills. It can be quite soothing. It is a good way to interact with symbols and archetypes and, you know, visual language. It can be used to commune with deity and divinity. You can use it as a portal through which to receive messages from disembodied intelligences, from the cosmos, from your ancestors, etc. If you're more of the psychological magical persuasion, or you just like to dabble with different models and the psychological model is among them, then you could also think of scrying as somewhat like an alternative form of a Rorschach test. So depending upon what you see and what you actually interpret from whatever medium you're scrying into, you can look at that as a way to actually read your psyche, understand your intentions, understand your deeper needs, your fears, etc. So it's a good way to kind of psychoanalyze yourself as well and actually look for the deeper answers that are within you. It can therefore also be quite good for shadow work at times. So, you know, there's lots of different ways that it can be useful. I've written down some of the key ways that you can scry, some of the ways that I've used anyway. You can scry with clouds, sand, water, bodies of water, or water in a bowl, fire, smoke, black mirrors, crystal balls, crystals, graffiti and abstract expressionism, carpets and rugs and stuff like that. You can see images in that, trees and foliage, darkness. You can scry with TV static. You can scry with so many different things, it's unreal. You can actually scry through using the darkness behind your closed eyes. I've done that a few times and that's really, really interesting. If you close your eyes in the daytime and you move your face from an open kind of sunny window to over somewhere where it's darker, you get those phosphenes behind your eyes, and they can also create really interesting visuals or really interesting emotional experiences that can also be interpreted. When I used to live in one of my old houses, in one of the shared houses that I had with friends, I used to like lying in the bath and in our old bathroom we had like a window that was kind of frosted, and it had a really interesting kind of irregular pattern on it, and I used to love scrying into that window when it was dark and the street lights would illuminate it from outside, and I'd just be able to see all kinds of different shit in there. That was really, really awesome. And on the list that I wrote, I mentioned abstract expressionism and graffiti and stuff. I really love scrying that way. I like to go and look at a little bit of something like Gerhard Richter or Jackson Pollock and get a feel for what is coming through for me in those kinds of images. I love using abstract expressionism to actually kind of read into it and see my own pictures. That is really awesome. You are more than welcome to just start using your medium and scrying without any bells and whistles, you know, but if you need some bells and whistles, if you want some bells and whistles, set that up. So if you want to carve out sacred space, do it. If you want to have objects around you, if you want to be wearing something specific, do that. If you want it to be nighttime and you want candles around you, do that. Of course, also make preparations for the moon phase that you want, bring any correspondences together that you want, any of that stuff. If you need to call something into your circle, a deity for example, or ancestors, then prepare for that. If you want to actually prepare some kind of words or, you know, that kind of thing. If you just want to get yourself into a more meditative state, calm yourself down, get yourself into a kind of ritual mindset, then I would definitely recommend trying some mantras, some chants of some kind, maybe going through your prayer beads, something like that that is repetitive, that can kind of relax you and bring you into a different state of being. So essentially you're going to be thinking about things like protection and shielding, so the sacred space, if that's what you want to do and if that's what you have as part of your practice. You're also going to want to be thinking potentially about the ritual mindset itself, like what do you need to give it that ritual air, you know, to give it that sense that something important is going to happen. You're going to need to think about being comfortable because you're going to be sitting there for quite a long time, gazing intently, you know, so you're going to have to think about that as well. Definitely recommend a cushion or two for the bum if you're going to be sitting on a chair or on the floor. One thing that I've found quite useful on my own journey with scrying is closing my eyes during any proprietary work that I'm doing and actually turning my eyeballs up towards my third eye. Oh, that feels so weird. You do get used to it. You just kind of can feel your eyeballs moving up inside your head. Ooh. I don't know why, but there's just something a little bit transformative about that for me. I read that in a book somewhere and I just thought, yeah, okay, fair enough. Don't forget the epic power of music. For an extra kick in the pants, you can certainly use music. I actually love putting music on while I'm scrying with my crystal ball, but sometimes it does freak me out a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'm listening to music that is particularly haunting, or just kind of like, I don't know, like ethereal and or bassy, like sub-bassy or something, and I see something in the ball and I'm like, whoa! I've done that a couple of times where I just take myself out of the meditative state because I'm like, what the fuck? Getting freaked out. Another thing that I would really advise that has been instrumental for me, that's really helped me on my own journey with scrying, is to get your phone out or some kind of recording device on your laptop or whatever it is, and set that up somewhere nearby so that when you do see things inside your chosen medium, if you do pick up on images or symbols or anything like that, you can actually state them out loud and they'll be recorded. The reason I say this is because sometimes you just go into such a deep state of trance that you see things and then later on you can't really remember what you saw. That can be frustrating. That can be so fucking frustrating. I remember when I first started getting really serious about scrying at my altar and scrying in sacred space, I was scrying with smoke, which is a really effective method for me. I really enjoy scrying with smoke. It's awesome. And I realised sometimes that I was just taking so much in and getting excited about everything that I saw, but then wanting to move quickly back into the neutral state so I could see something else. And by the end of it, I'd think, I can't remember half the stuff that I saw. And so I started to try to write it down in a book, but that was obviously distracting and took me out of the mood. I wanted to be looking at the smoke. So it was then that it occurred to me that I really should be recording so that I can just state out loud what I'm seeing, and that is so useful. And actually sometimes when I listen back I think to myself, oh yeah, I did see that. I didn't even remember at the time that I saw that, because you're just so deeply into it. And you know, during a scrying session you might actually receive only 1 or 2 images. You might just receive a general feeling, or you might be bombarded by images and pictures and feelings and different scenarios and stuff like that. And during those times where you're bombarded, it's really hard to keep everything in your head. You do need a way to record it, and I would recommend using a recording device rather than writing, because it just takes you out of the moment. You're gonna have to decide whether or not you want to scry for a specific intention at first, or whether you just want to do some practice runs. It's just going to depend on, I suppose, your outlook and your perspective on things. You may feel that anything that you're doing that's witchy, that's a part of your witchy or spiritual practice, is important to give intention to, and it's important to kind of take the things that you see in your scrying sessions as serious messages and interpret them thusly. Or you may feel more like it's okay to just do some practice runs just to see how well you can actually zone in and focus and see how much imagery you can pick up. It's totally up to you. I did practice runs when I first started just to see what I would see, if anything, and I did give special meaning to a few of the things that I saw on the practice runs, but that was because I felt like they did have special meaning. Like, I sensed that there was something specific about those images that was actually of importance to me. And if you feel like you can do that, then I would recommend going for the option of basically not having any intention to start with and just relaxing into it and focusing and just seeing what you can see. Because I think that with scrying, we want to reduce the pressure as much as possible. You carve out quite a big bit of time, make yourself comfortable, etc., because you don't want to be pushing really hard for results. Patience is key with scrying. Patience is really key, so you've just got to carve out that lovely big chunk of time and really just make the session work for you and ease into it. I think if you've decided to scry for a specific intention at first, it can add to that pressure, and it could also add to that disappointment if the first few sessions are not what you envisioned, or you were hoping for something a little bit more weighty. So I just think general scrying is a good idea, but again, your mileage is going to vary depending on who you are and what you want to achieve. You might want to set a specific intention of what you are looking for straight away. And by setting an intention, I basically mean deciding what the images that you see are going to be pertaining to. So, for example, you could decide that the images that you see are messages that have been sent to you from your matron deity, or you may decide that the images that you see are there to help you with a specific problem that you're having at the moment that you need to sort out. So that's what I mean by intention, setting an intention for your scrying sessions. After you've been scrying for a while, obviously I would definitely recommend setting intentions and using the scrying for something specific, and doing that is so exciting. It's just such an awesome thing. But at first, yeah, I would recommend making it general, but it's up to you at the end of the day. Okay, I'm going to read from my notes now, something that I wrote down many moons ago when I first decided to do this video, and it basically just explains the way that I gaze into the medium that I'm using for scrying and the way that I actually focus my eyes, okay? So it says here, gaze into the object or medium that you're using. After a while, your vision will begin to blur at times and the sharpness in the focus will shift from one eye to the other. If you want to readjust your focus, you can, but you don't need to. The object is actually giving you access to the inner eyes, which then marry with whatever you're seeing in front of you to make the images. So there's no need to focus really intensely. Just keep letting it happen, flow into it, blink when you need to blink. Now, what I mean by this is that you will notice that your vision blurs, or that you are only having clear vision out of one eye, and you will be tempted to keep refocusing and keep refocusing, blinking and making your vision clear again. I would advise strongly against that. I think the blurring really adds something to the proceedings. It also helps with getting you into the trance state or the meditative state, however you want to see it. I also think that if you keep blinking and refocusing, then what you're probably doing is taking yourself out of the moment and missing your opportunities to see images when they're arriving. Don't be afraid of blinking when you're scrying, and also don't be afraid of letting your eyes take a break by just gently closing your eyes and inhaling and exhaling, relaxing yourself, dropping your shoulders, you know, taking little breaks from time to time. Okay, this is something else that I wrote in the original notes for this video. It says, I would say that there are two different types of things that you will see. If you're focusing intently with your physical eyes, you may reinterpret the actual parts of the form of what you're looking at. For example, an actual fleck on a rose quartz crystal could become a hand, for instance. It's a reimagining of the shape. The other kind is images from the trance state, which come from your inner eyes and come as the result of you going off into a trance. The object is then a portal into your higher self or unconscious. Both are equally valid. Right, let me break this down. What I basically mean is, if you're looking at something, you're looking at the medium or object that you're using to scry, and you're actually looking at it and there's no sense of anything coming through from like the inner eyes, if you like, the mind's eye, and there's no sense of like trance or blurring or anything, but you see something actually on the medium that is literally in the medium, and you interpret it as a particular shape or object. That is just as valid as the trance-like images that come through from the inner eyes. I notice with my crystal ball that sometimes I see things in my crystal ball and I'm aware that they are just images of things on my altar, but they're kind of like turned upside down or mangled up inside the crystal ball, right? And I actually sometimes interpret those shapes that are actually from my room as specific images. The example that I've given here is that you will see an actual fleck on a rose quartz crystal. So it's actually a chip or a indentation or whatever. It is actually there on the rose quartz crystal. It's not in your mind's eye. It's actually there in the physical world. But you look at it, and because of the state that you're in and the openness that you've given to your beingness, you look at that fleck and you reinterpret it as a house, or you see it as a shell, or you look at it and you see a woman's face, right? That is just as valid as being in a really kind of trippy, blurry, trancey state and seeing something which actually isn't directly reflected on the physical object. I hope that makes sense. I hope I've managed to get that across. Both are equally valid. So, you know, if you see something, for instance, in your crystal ball, and you're aware that it is a reflection of an object that is actually behind you in the room, but you look at that reflection in the crystal ball and you see a dog, for example, in that reflection, you actually reinterpret the shape of the object as a dog, then that is something that you've scryed. You have taken your mind to another place, you've opened it up to suggestion, and that's what's come through. So that is valid. But you will also very likely experience things which I like to see as images from the inner eyes, and that's where just basically you're in a trance state. It's kind of blurry, misty, foggy, and you've kind of gone off, if you see what I mean, and you'll see things then as well. You might just experience one kind of seeing and you might experience the other. You might have a completely different experience. I'm just trying to help you by explaining what my experiences have been. Remember that you can enhance the medium that you're using as well. So obviously using music is a way to enhance the experience, using incense is a way to enhance the experience, but you can also mess with the medium itself. So for example, if you're using a black bowl filled with water, you can put a tea light in that water to float around and see how that affects what you're seeing. If you're using a crystal ball, you could light incense behind the crystal ball, and the incense will kind of move behind the crystal ball and create further opportunities for images to come through and be interpreted. You can do this in all kinds of different ways, so you can really mess with the medium that you're using and actually kind of make it move, make it flow, make it do something different. If you're new to all this scrying business and you're excited, I would really encourage you to look up different forms of scrying. I have only sort of scratched the surface with different things that you can do. You can do all kinds of different shit. There has been scrying going on since the year dot, you know? Scrying is as old as God's fucking dog. So, you know, go on with your bad selves, go and find different ways of scrying, get excited about it, don't pressure yourself, take your time, be patient, enjoy the process. You could experiment with things like different moon phases, different music, different mediums, and see what works for you. Some people have a specific medium that really works for them, others use a variety of different mediums. Some would say that there are mediums that they tried that just did not work at all. You know, some people might say they tried scrying into a candle flame and it was crap, but then they tried scrying into the ocean and it was fucking fantabulous. You know, so different experiences. So you've got to kind of go out there and taste the cornucopia of different mediums available. In just the same way that I would tell people, and I have told people on the channel before, that every single meditation session you do is worthwhile, I would say the exact same thing about scrying. If you engage in a scrying session and not a lot really happens and you feel disappointed with the results, don't lose heart and don't tell yourself that the session was worthless, that it was a waste of time, that it didn't mean anything and you should have been doing something else instead. Don't tell yourself that. Every session is worthwhile, everything is practice, everything is progress, so keep going with it. Obviously, I would recommend that you record the results that you get from each session if you are so inclined, which I know that a lot of us witchy people are. We're natural record keepers in the main, so I definitely recommend doing that. I hope that these insights have been helpful. Much love at this really special time of year. Blessed be, guys. Mwah. Hey there witches and spiritual peeps, I just wanted to take this opportunity at the end of my video about scrying to let you guys know that I do offer crystal ball readings over on my shop. So if you would like me to scry for you, then I'll leave the link below in the description box and you can click over and take a look at the purchase option. I also offer spiritual path readings and solitary witch readings. I'll leave the links for those down below as well, and I'll also leave the link down below to my custom design purchase option, which is where you just let me know what you want in a reading and I'll actually just organise some spread positions for you and create something that caters to your needs. Much love, babes. Blessed be.